Black, Educated, and Broke
is a weekly entertainment podcast
where we mix hip-hop,
headlines, and all things ATL
into the success of Black millennials
in the Black culture.
Yes, what's up, y'all? We up in this thing, Black, Educated, and Broke. And like before we started this, we just had this really good conversation, and I'm feeling very upbeat. So let's just talk about that first. So something happened on Twitter, and Ron was talking about how Q got him in this mess. People was retweeting Ron, and they was attacking Ron about women. What happened?
So I was on Twitter one day, and all I did was repost this young lady who had an opinion saying that she didn't feel like, young Black women are getting the attention with things that are going on with them in terms of police. So then all I did was retweet it. I didn't say nothing. I just retweeted. It was a different perspective. So I put it out there like I normally do.
Like a lion. He
didn't. And normally, in normal Q fashion, Q comes in and just sets the whole thing off. About 300 tweets later, it finally stops.
It was a lot.
Okay, so hold on. So she tweeted saying that she felt like Black women wasn't getting the attention they need because of what?
Because of what's going on in the media. So basically,
because like with everything,
whenever somebody gets killed, like say, here, case in point right now, we got Ahmaud Arbery that died in February. Then after him was Breonna Taylor. But after her was George Floyd. So she kind of gotten swept up under those names. So what the young ladies were saying was that Black women or women in general don't get enough camera time when something like that happens versus when a man happens.
Oh, and so what was your response to that? It clearly had everybody up in arms.
I'm very misunderstood.
No. Q likes to play devil's advocate and tries to.
I'm gonna see if I can pull it up right quick.
Maya is correct. I do play devil's advocate. Matter of fact, I think I just lost a friend of 10 years because of it. She told me on Twitter, I'm done with this and I'm done with you. So I think that means she's not fucking with me no more.
Oh man.
It's all good, man. I really didn't understand it. But back to what we was talking about.
Yes.
All I brought up was, and I know both of us are looking for it. I wasn't expecting this, so this is funny. I'm pretty sure I said something along the lines of they do get the media coverage, but I think maybe I said like we don't talk about it enough, like retweet it or something like that. Let me go through mine.
No, his beginning shit was some shit like stop the dividing and some other shit.
I did say that.
It set everybody off.
It was mad
on my timeline as if I was the one that said it.
It was fantastic.
People do, and this is kind of what I fell out with her about as far as men not backing women. And I can only speak for myself and the men I'm around. So, yeah, I know that men degrade women and do all that, but I know none of my partners do that. I've never witnessed a man degrade another woman in front of me. If that makes sense to you.
Yeah.
Here it is, right here.
All right. Hey,
can you put that in the group, please?
DM me, because I want to go read the conversation.
His quote was, "Stop with the division, generalize BS. This isn't true. It just doesn't happen as often. We in this together." That's what he said.
That's okay. Now that I have my words verbatim.
Come on, receipts.
And from there, it was go time.
And for like 2 or 3 days, it was going.
No, like a week straight.
No,
every time I check my mentions, I was like, are we still talking about this?
Yeah, they was mad.
So they're upset because they felt like you was not giving enough credit. You were just pretty much just saying like, because you acknowledge that it happened, but it's not as much though. So you wasn't taking away, but they took it as like, you're like trying to like, it ain't about y'all, get over.
Like I said, how they took it. Like I started out, I misunderstood because I wasn't discrediting women getting killed or the same thing happening to them and men. What my point was is, yes, it does happen, but it does not happen as often. So you're going to see more of men because it's happening more frequently with them attacking us. Yeah. Now, as far as women, I believe they get light, but they don't get enough. I agree with that. I didn't disagree with that point. But just like some men get swept under that we never hear about or know about, I think women come out under that, but we do still hear about them. But it's kind of like the argument where white people be like, what about black on black crime? Or not that, but police killing more white people than they kill black people. Look, they killed 700 of us. They only killed 3. Right. It's more. So the frequency is going to be different.
Well, what I would say, if I would add to that, because, you know, I don't really know. I'm not going to speak on statistically because I don't know statistically what is actually factual. But I do feel like when it comes to video, we see the videos has been men mostly. I don't think I've seen it besides Sandra Bland. I hadn't seen a lot of the women we seeing that on video if something happening. So I think we have to also remember that too. Which is at the end of the day, if somebody can see it, it's going to get a lot more news coverage than somebody hearing about it. And that's just what it is. So I do feel like black women, if you do feel like you're not getting the support, if you're feeling like that, I feel like you need to, my opinion, you need to refocus on what's important. Like, it ain't about you feeling support. What about these families that's lost their loved ones? I think they need their support a lot more than you feeling isolated. So, again, we got to stop making this about you individually and think about the bigger picture. So, I wasn't offended, Q, and I get what you meant. But
can I piggyback? It was a lot of pain that week because on the process of what we're dealing with as a people, and as for black men and just the hurt, I mean, literally what we saw with George Floyd and then what came after that, but also in that week of the women responding and the conversation on Ron's Twitter was the young lady in Florida that I believe you say her name is Alowotoyan.
Oh yeah. Oh,
yeah.
So literally in that situation, of course, the accused is a African-American man that was taken into custody, and she had said that she had been sexually assaulted by an African-American man. And literally from that point on, there was a comment, and I had no problem with this with Q, but because I get it. I get that the perspective. It was just like literally last week you was protesting with black men, and we were protesting for justice for Breonna Taylor as well as George Floyd and so many other names. But then as soon as this young lady in her situation, which is very unfortunate, and we want justice for her too, it was black men ain't shit.
That was my
y'all know I don't cut, and that was Q's point. And I've told so many women, I do understand there are a lot of men out here who are not supportive, and then you got men like myself. I can speak for Q. I mean, it's a struggle. Because we're trying to maintain all of this and maintain our mental state and whatever we're trying to just get through and fight for justice. But at the end of the day, to continue that conversation and divide, I've told so many women, I said, listen, don't change the narrative. Just keep speaking on what needs to be heard right now. We want justice for Breonna Taylor. Speak about that and don't say nothing else, because now you're to bash your brothers. That's what really started that conversation.
All right, Mike B kind of.
I'm gonna give a little more context to that.
After the break, though, Q, because give us like 1 second, because we already got in this thing. It's getting deep. We're supposed to be light, but we gotta address stuff. So if y'all liking this conversation, come on back. We'll be right back, right here on Black, Educated, and Broke.
I can't find that damn tweet. I wish they had it to where like you could see conversationally with the person. That would be dope.
Yeah, because you got to really like go back through the thread. That's the hard part.
You know how many notifications I get? Like, I don't even know how far back that was. You got a date? What day was that?
You didn't have no time left.
It was 5:28.
I was about to say wrap it
up.
Okay.
Oh, Randy, did you start recording?
No, I had stopped already. I'm gonna let you get your thoughts together. So when we come back, I want to jump into it real quick and then get out of it and move on.
No, it's here. I'm good.
Oh, you good?
I already passed that tweet. I already know what that's about. I was gonna talk about what Mike had brought up.
But that's what I'm talking about. Yes, I want you to hit in that for a little bit, and I'm gonna just jump into melanin news.
All right, I won't keep it long. I got you.
All right, here we go. And it was still recording. I thought I had stopped this whole time.
Everybody want to be a rapper, but don't nobody want to rap. Well, we're going to give you a chance to rap on Slap It or Dap It. Send us your music, your MP3 to blackeducatedandbroke@gmail.com, and we'll play it. What's even better is we're going to invite you to the show, and then you can show the world and us what you got. You think you got what it takes? We're going to see.
Towing, yeah.
So the first thing I saw out of the whole thing where I had never heard of it or the situation or knew she was an activist, somebody was bashing Black men for doing the crime of killing her. All I asked was, how do we know a Black man killed her? That was my initial question. And this is before this later information came out. This is like the next day when it first, bubbled. And of course, the new phrase, read the room. I fucking hate that. It's stupid as hell, for one. But for two, there was no evidence that said that a Black man actually killed her. Yes, she was sexually assaulted and she had was tweeting afterwards. But to come out and say, oh, a Black man killed her,
right?
I took an issue with that. Like, we don't know who killed her because they were trying to say that when you sexually assault somebody, then that's the person who killed them. But she escaped. I read her tweet. She escaped. So she got away and she was, I'm assuming on a bus stop or waiting to go somewhere to collect her belongings. And between there and then, we saying a Black man killed. We don't have proof. And I got called misogynistic of all things. I didn't just be like, oh yeah, a Black man did kill her. We need to find him. He did it. I don't know that he did it. I'm not gonna just accuse him of doing it because that's y'all premise. So,
or because he raped her, that means he killed her.
Right. But the thing, the weird thing about this story is so odd. She was raped, then went to a church for refuge, saw another man who she said she let God lead her to people. Like, instead of being like, oh, this guy's kind of fishy, she lets the Lord lead her. He took her home, tied her up and sexually assaulted. She escaped and then tweets about it. So it was just so much going on to try to put it together. It was like, okay, so who raped her? How did she tweet after? She escaped. How did she end up dead? How did she even get back? She said she left all her stuff here. I didn't want to seem like I was victim blaming, as I'm really trying to process to figure it out. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, there's that. We're gonna put these tweets up on our socials. You can kind of read over them, and we can have the continued coverage. But we got to cover some other stuff. That's that melanin news. Go on, Mike B.
First breaking news this week: the 3 men accused in the February 23rd shooting death of Ahmaud Arbery were indicted this past Wednesday by a grand jury. Remember, Arbery was shot 3 times, including twice in the chest. Live in the Black Educated and Broke newsroom, well over 100 days since the fatal shooting of Breonna Taylor. As of Wednesday, June 24th, still no arrests have been made. Brett Hankinson, he's one of the officers officially and has been fired by the Louisville Police Department, and the FBI is still conducting an investigation. Now, who is Elijah McClain? A young Black man who died after being taken off of life support on August the 30th, 2019. On August 24th, 6 days before, police officers in Aurora, Colorado approached the 23-year-old as he walked home from a convenience store. A 911 call had reported a suspicious person in a ski mask. McClain, unarmed and no crime committed, was detained by 3 police officers, placed in a carotid hold. Officers say McClain resisted arrest. En route to hospital, the first responders used a drug called ketamine, which sent McClain into cardiac arrest. McClain was wearing an open ski mask. The family says he had anemia and could easily catch colds. Body cam footage was not released until November of last year. It is posted on our Facebook page. In the widespread for justice of Black men and women killed by police, his case has caught major attention. A petition started in early June now has over 2 million signatures for seeking justice. Say their names. Big news in Georgia on Tuesday. The state legislature approves a hate crime bill that will allow enhanced criminal penalties for people who target others because of their race, gender, sexual orientation, or other reasons. We posted this on our social media pages some time ago, but a new documentary is called Good Trouble, and it's a powerful new documentary tracing the life of Congressman John Lewis. It was set to be released in May. It will be released in select theaters and on demand July 3rd before premiering on CNN in September. Among the producers is veteran actress Erica Alexander, our Maxine Shaw, attorney at law from the hit show Living Single. The film's director is another sister, British filmmaker Dawn Porter. Lewis, now 80 years old, is serving his 17th term in the House of Representatives from Georgia. The incumbent took the Georgia Democratic primaries, beating a young and upcoming Atlanta-born Barrington Martin, and will face Republican Angela Stanton King, a Black woman challenging the civil rights icon for the Georgia's 5th Congressional District in November. For the latest headlines in and around our community, follow me on Twitter at MikeB_news. I'm Mike B with your Melanin News weekly right here on Black, Educated, and Broke.
And thank you, Mike B, for those headlines, guys. We're going to take another break. When we get back, we're going to have Black, Educated, and Activism. That is our next segment. We're going to have Chicago activist Damon Williams, the comedian, his son. But yeah, we're going to have him on the show. You don't want to miss it. So keep listening right here on Black, Educated, and Broke.
Hey y'all, what it do? It's your girl, it's Maya. So you're not doing anything right now? Go over to blackeducatedandbroke.com and check out my blog, The Mayan Empire. We're waiting for your feedback.
You are back listening here to Black, Educated, and Broke. And, you know, we don't even want to kind of put too much pressure and wait too late on this because we've already kind of teased. Oh, we have this Chicago activist on the show. We're going to talk with him. Well, I got him now, so I'm just going to give an introduction. I'm going to give my little 1-2, and then you guys are going to get to talk to Mr. Damon Williams as well. Because remember, this is Black, Educated, and Activism, all right? Here we go. Mr. Damon Williams. A little bit about him. Well, he's an organizer, he's a rapper, he's a writer, he's a poet, he's a comedian, all that. And I ain't done an educator from the south side of Chicago. Come on now. And because there's still more, he's the co-host and co-executive producer of Ergo. He is the co-founder of the hashtag Let Us Breathe Collective, a grassroots alliance of artists, journalists, and activists harnessing creative capital and cultural production to deconstruct injustice in America and worldwide. You got to snap after that, okay? The collective operates the Breathing Room, which is a Black-led liberation space for arts, organizing, and healing on Chicago's South Side. Y'all, let's make some noise for Damon Williams.
Yeah.
What's up? How y'all feeling?
We're good. So, like, did I do okay, Damon?
You did. That was the long one.
Oh, that was long. I loved every bit of it.
I appreciate it. I appreciate the
I kind of want to I don't know if I'm let Mike go. I just want to kind of jump into some things. I know Mike had already kind of briefed me on some things. Would you like to go ahead and get it popping with Damon?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, brother Damon, I appreciate you hitting me back. Social media. We just kind of started this series in recent weeks, along with what we do on our show, Black, Educated, and Activism. And I kind of got a glimpse of what you do, of course, from your dad, comedian Damon Williams, from his social media, man, just highlighting and showing his love and support of you. And especially most recently with the protests of George Floyd and as well as others, just what was going on in Chicago. You recently had an incident with Chicago PD during a protest, and I kind of wanted to ask, would you just tell us about it?
Yeah, so it was May 31st, the day after the high point, I think, with National Day of Action, so it was Sunday. And I was in a park meeting up with some Black organizers on the South Side, and we were just kind of having a good time, excited to see that the whole world, the whole country was rising up, and that there was this real fervor in the streets like we've never seen before in human history. So we were trying to figure out what it meant to be responsible in this time. What direction can we provide? What strategy or demands do we want to uplift? How do we want to be showing up in space, not knowing, how long things are going to be burning? The world was upside down,
yes,
but it was also really exciting. So we were just together building. And because it was such a high point, there's a protest that happened to pass by. And so some of our folks, because we were there preparing, how are we going to show up for the people that are protesting? Just went to, observe, support. Some folks were medics, so they had supplies to make sure everybody was okay, masks, those type of things. And after a while, they ended up in a very retail-heavy part of the South Side. That's in Hyde Park area for folks who are familiar with the city. And it's near the University of Chicago, which is this elite, very well-funded resource institution. And so police always are much more activated and heavy and intense about this corridor of capital and commerce. And then also the university has its own private police force that is able to police this community as well. So it's a hyper-police area on the South Side. So then they tried to push people away from this neighborhood and push them towards the lakefront. And then there was a standoff, and so we're getting calls because some of our folks who were with us in this meeting had went over there to kind of see what's going on. So people were like, it's kind of cool. And then it was like, this kind of escalated. We might need support. So showing up, I got there for like 5-10 minutes, and everything was cool, right? Like the standoff diffused, folks continued on, and the folks that I came with were more or less like holding up the rear. And I'm gonna try to get through the story now. That was just
because I'm like, what happened, Damon, honey?
Yeah. So
go ahead.
Long story short, I'm sorry to bury the lead. I was arrested and abused and assaulted and slammed on my head. A police officer, kneeled the weight of his body on his knee and my neck, the same procedure that they used to kill George Floyd. I've been concussed. I'm just getting over it. It was about 3-4 weeks ago now. I'm just getting.
But hold on, let me jump in because I know we had you kind of sped it up, but then you went too fast for me. So how did it go to like leading to you arrest?
Now I got
getting your knee in your neck. Like wait a minute, what happened there?
So just to give you an explanation of. We had just got there, so I was just trying to set the tone of like I did not show up alone. I showed up with a body of folks who have experience, because that's the thing I want folks to know, right? Like we're seeing a lot of people who are taking the streets, but there's also been a movement that has been consistent and continuous the last 6 years all over this country. And Chicago has been a hotbed of that movement.
Yes,
we call it the movement for Black Lives Matter, and with that, there's been this push not only that we want to hold officers accountable in these individual cases, but that the system itself is actually violent and unjust, and we need a new way of life, and we name that through the tradition of abolition. So we've been saying that for a while, right? And so most of the folks who are with uphold this consciousness or this ideology, and have been in standoffs and have been in actions, have been attacked by police, have some experience. So we show up just to support, and within a few minutes, this tense situation cools down, and then we're at the rear of this protest, and then unrelated to the protest, the police start chasing a man or chasing people who they think are going into a store. And so organizers who were present, once abuse was happening, was intervening, was naming folks' rights, folks got away, and then the police got really frustrated. So then they started escalating, started beating women and teenage girls with batons and shields. My fiance, who was, not a large framed person, was getting beat. And so then I came, put my body in the way, was able to create some separation, was slammed to the ground, then beat with a baton, while I was carrying my fiance. And then a friend of mine, after being beat with batons brutally, was then in a chokehold and surrounded. We were demanding his release. The police then attacked through us. I was slammed 3 or 4 more times, and then the final time on the top of my head with my entire body weight. And then, and so then was arrested for 7 hours, and then there was like a big push for release. And then, have continued to politicize not only that moment, but all the things that are going on, and kind of continuing the work that we've been developing as a liberatory ecosystem here in Chicago for the last 6 years.
But it's like you talk about it like, it happened, it's messed up, but it like it's normal almost like.
Yeah, you're right. That's a some of that might be like psychological, trying to heal. Some of it is because in some ways I have prepared for these things. I've been in situations similar. This obviously went to a higher level of harm and injury, but I'm not surprised. I'm familiar, and I know just on a I'm privileged, right? People from city council and the state's attorney knew my name within a few hours. There's suits happening, right? Like there's press conferences. Mm-hmm. I'm doing this podcast right now. People get their ass beat every day, in way more brutally, ways that they're not able to recover or walk. Right. So it's weird because I don't want to normalize, and also it's like created space for me. So now I'm able to talk about my work more. So I don't want to normalize or glamorize it because do we have to be clean with language? Or should I?
All right. I'm gonna let you make it, sir. Gone on because your daddy a comedian. I'm gonna let you make it.
No. If it's anything, so it's it's effed up. I don't want to at all. Underplay. What happened to me. Some of it is also like it doesn't feel real. So I've told the story since the hours of it happening, and the further it gets away, it's like I haven't. There's a lot of clips that's going around. I haven't really seen them all. So it's like. Did what I feel happened actually happen? So there's some displacement, but also I'm part of my healing has been able to get my nose down to the work and be able to talk about what's going on. So I've been processing it and having to speak about it a lot.
It's like just like you're going to like a public, but like you're like publicly healing. It's like you're like kind of going, but you're having doing it publicly on a platform. So that's like a different type of trying to process, but still try to be the voice. Like that got to be heavy, Damon. And so I do want to be more specific with you being you felt it, it happened to you, right?
Yeah.
And then being an advocate to help to promote it. How are you really trying to push the narrative that you want people to understand now? Would you even be more effective?
For me, whenever we have a conversation about police, it's really historical. And so we need to like place ourselves in this tradition of liberation. That's really what I want people to understand. So I know everywhere folks are hearing like defund the police and are maybe confused, maybe afraid. And so, you know, what I want to push is everybody should be encouraged, really excited, and proud to be a part of this time and this transition. And then we need to note like what we are talking about, what this institution really is. Because, you know, in the last 20 years or so, everybody knows racism isn't just about the N-word and nooses and bigotry, right? Like we know that it's about structures. We know it's about institutions, but we say that vaguely. What are the structures we're talking about? What are the institutions? And I would say carceral militarism, namely police, prisons, and jails, have been the forefront of structural racism in our society and around the world. And so if we want to get to if we want to stop police violence, we have to stop policing because it is violence. We have to find new solutions because we just need to, you know, name the facts. Police in America started from slave patrol out of the Fugitive Slave Act. That's not a myth. That's not a metaphor. The state never deputized people to capture someone's body before it was to capture and enslave Black people. That's where it starts. And then we continue. The 13th Amendment at the end of the Civil War says that slavery shall not exist, except for punishment as a crime. So the 10 million or so living people, 5 to 6 of those million people are Black, who have been subjected to our systems of incarceration, have been subjected to slavery. So everybody just needs to know that every day you have drawn breath in this land, you've lived in a place where slavery is constitutionally legal and happening, and it's torture, and it's a form of warfare, right? And so no matter how bad things get, we're in Chicago, and the conservative thing is like, oh, you talk about police, but what about Chicago? They're shooting in Chicago. And you know, my point is the system that we have is what creates that violence, and that we need new responses. We can't respond to it with violence, and incarceration actually creates conflict, it creates turmoil, it creates trauma that escalates the scarcity that we experience. And so what I'm trying to push people to think towards, and what, you know, I'm a part of an organized movement to push towards is, we need to create a new society. In the same way we abolished chattel slavery, in the same way we abolished Jim Crow apartheid, we need to abolish incarceration and policing and find new systems to deal with harm and violence.
Yeah, that's a real good point as far as abolishing. And excuse me, my tardiness, Damon. I'm Q.
What's up, bro? What's up, Q?
Another member of this great podcast.
Welcome, brother.
All of this is what you're saying, man. We eye to eye on this. This stuff that I talk about regularly. I've sat down and watched the 13th multiple times just to educate people on what's going on. A lot of people do miss the point that Emancipation Proclamation did not free slaves. It did not, simply. And then when you get to the 13th Amendment, like you stated, it further says that unless you commit a crime, then you're free. And then you get into mass incarceration even before then, the war on drugs, which was a war on poverty, essentially. So I think it's important that we kind of go back and express that feeling and tell people what's real when it comes to that. Because this notion of Black on Black crime does not exist. That's a narrative that was put out, that was ran with. Now that we have unlimited access to information, it's important that we do our own research and we get out there and educate the masses who don't quite understand what's going on. But we definitely appreciate brothers like you. I got family in Chicago. I got plenty of off of Bishop on the south side. Like my aunt wouldn't let me in the house.
I'm on Bishop right now.
Yeah, I went out on the 4th of July a few years ago, and I came back at like 1, and she was like, no, don't open that door. Do not let him in my house. My uncle had to like let her like listen, he got to come in. She was not trying to have it. And, you know, to be in it and to see it on TV is something different, but to experience it, you know, it's kind of wild. But definitely keep the information coming so people can build their own knowledge and go from there with it.
Yeah. And I want to kind of pitch in and kind of throw like Maya and assist here because, you know, you mentioned in your bio that, you know, you're a rapper, you're an artist, you're a writer. She's kind of wanting to know about like, how are you using that to get your message across? Is that kind of right, Maya?
It was basically like, I write too, occasionally. I won't call myself a writer. I'm creative. So I'm trying to figure out how to not seem mad and angry in my writings. I'm trying to figure out right now I have a blog. It's like I don't feel like I should be putting out content, but at the same time it needs to be talked about.
Yeah.
How are you, I want to say, handling or getting inspired?
Yeah.
Well, actually, before you answer that, Damon, we're gonna leave them on the top of on their toes for this, because we're gonna take a quick break, because you know we got bills and stuff to pay. You know what I'm talking about? So you're gonna hold that thought. Damon Williams, the Chicago activist here, joining us on Black Educated and Broke. When we get back from the break, he gonna answer that. So keep listening.
Hey, what's up? It's Damon Williams, and when I'm not out building movement with my people, I'm getting it in, listening to Black Educated and Broke. It's the only show out doing it right.
We are back here on Black Educated and Broke, sitting down, talking with Chicago activist Damon Williams. And before we took a break, Maya was asking a question because Damon advises that he's a writer, he's a poet, he's an artist. And so being that he's an activist, she was asking the question of sort of how are you using that platform to get the message across? Is that right, Maya?
Yeah, like how are you not allowing what's going on right now to block the creativity, the story that needs to be told, like the narrative that you would like to tell?
Yeah. I mean, I do want to be honest, like in the immediate, you know, after what happened to me, like being able to read and write and kind of like sit down and create, that has not happened yet. So like in terms of, since things have been on fire, I don't have that. But there is this larger body of work. And so, you know, in that question, I want to even pull out like what this is all about, right? Like we're talking about creating a new way of life for Black people and all people, right? Like the way that we are living is insufficient, is violent, is harmful, and we see that Black people disproportionately experience the brunt of that. And we want to create a new world. That is a creative practice, right? Like it is often said, we can call this revolution, right? Like we're talking about creating new systems, new institutions, new structures, a new society. Revolution is inherently a creative practice. So everyone seeing themselves as a creator and an artist is really important. So even before you get to performance or publishing, just in terms of like developing your own humanity, understanding your position in the world, asking yourself questions that then you have to figure out answers and solutions to, whatever your practice is, whether that's on a canvas, you know, with me, it's usually with a pen and page and with voice, but as a photographer, you know, all crafts, all forms are really important before healing or putting it out to like actually developing yourself and your thinking. And so for me, in terms of how my artistry has helped with my movement work, me and my sister were an artistic duo that is in many ways how we birthed our organization. So I would not have had the community, would not have had the people, would not have even had space to talk about the ideas if it wasn't for the independent underground hip hop and poetic scene here in Chicago. And so that developed me into the space to even feel myself appropriate saying some of the things that I say. And since then, you know, as an educator, and within my community space, I get asked to perform and kind of help facilitate. I'm like the MC in a lot of times, so like I'll host the event. You can spit a verse, or you can like bring folks up, and also like do like political education. I also like teach in schools and like facilities, and so when I come into those spaces, that's really a great way to interact with students and you know, and kind of like break some of that. I don't call myself a teacher, and I really don't like the way school is organized and the way we think about education. So in trying to break some of that mold, if I start with a verse, right, me and a 16-year-old, now we're having a little bit of a different conversation. We have a different like cultural relationship. So now that opens us up to have different conversations. And so just to wrap up and like the end of that question, I hear you saying about like right now, you know, a few things is, one, like, again, develop your interior is my advice. So like write for yourself. I think a lot of times, particularly in these times of rage and the destruction that we face, there is this like impulse or this pressure to like write to them, right? There's always a you or a they or something external. And what I usually hear that is like the white gaze. And I think that like usually actually reproduces some of that trauma in our own work and like create some fracturing. So like try not to be writing to white people. try to, I try to get out of like having to explain yourself and just express and find more honesty and truth for the healing. And then usually those things are doper anyway, because if they wanted to get it, it's all there, right? Like it don't need to be re-explained. It's really about us, and there's deeper things we can say to each other and challenge ourselves and tell more honest stories and unearth things instead of like, hey, don't you know it's wrong that Black people die? It's like, if somebody needs to hear that, I don't even really want to talk to them.
Right.
And so do it to develop your own humanity and to build deeper community with your people. And, a lot of stuff I write, has been just now is how I'm able to have these type of conversations. So it's projects I've been building, but I haven't really published or put anything out. And also because like, this clout shit, stuff is like is a catchy game. And so since I've, committed to something that I'm accountable to, not only do I have my own insecurities, but, trying to like, hey, come book me for a show, or hey, let me be front and center stage while I'm trying to talk about collective movement. I haven't figured out quite yet how to do that. I'm still taking my time and trying to figure it out. But that's also a thing that kind of like pulls me in a few directions is, you can't be too forefronted, particularly as a Black man in a space that's created by Black women and Black queer femmes. So, I have to just be very intentional about how I move.
Okay, you better look at you. Damon, you all right. You was all right with us.
You okay with me? I'm trying
to all
tell
right with me. Like, I knew that I always loved your bald-headed daddy, but you all right with me, okay? So here's before I go ahead, and Mike is going to talk more about your endeavor. I did want to just address one thing that you mentioned about abolishing the police and defunding the police. A lot of people may not know what the difference is. So can you enlighten, what does that mean?
So defunding, or, it kind of comes from the language of divest, invest. And so even before I get into the nuts and bolts, things get defunded all the time, and it's usually the things that we need, right? So resources for housing and public housing. Education. Have been defunding for generations. Education gets defunded all the time. Community spaces, parks get defunded all the time. The push for abolition is a little bit more historical, a little bit more liberatory, right? It is a greater claim about how society should be. And so Angela Davis is really like the origin of it. And then the two thinkers that have been like the most active that I would say we should give credit to for building this movement and this momentum is one woman named Mariame Kaba, K-A-B-A. She's based out of New York. She's from there, but she spent about like 10, 15 years here in Chicago. She really helped build our movement. And then out west in California, Ruth Wilson Gilmore. Just Google those women and just listen to everything they say, and you'll understand the world so much better. I can explain pieces of it right now, but they're the OGs. They're like the like, I call them like the Michael and LeBron, or like the Kobe. Angela Davis is kind of like Bill Russell. She's like the OOG.
Oh yeah.
Basketball fans. And so yes, abolition is continuing this work from that started when there were uprising on slave ships. Some folks chose death over bondage. There was marronage, right? This is a multi-century tradition. And it has gone through multiple iterations. Defunding the police comes out of that, of saying, hey, we want to get to a new space, and we don't want to keep putting resources into militarism, into cages, into guns, into chains. We want those resources to go, one, into different types of emergency response, so things that actually help us. Police are domestic abusers. They should not be the ones we call for domestic abuse. Police are sexual violators. They are not the ones we should call for sexual violence. Police are not trained for mental health crises. It shouldn't be the same person when a store gets robbed, when a young person is violated, or when you have an argument with your neighbor, right? Like one person with a gun should not be responding to all those things. We need a multitude of systems that are rooted in community and based in relationship. And so divest from systems that hurt us and invest in the things we need. First of all, we shouldn't be talking about punishing people if we don't make sure everyone has housing, food, and medicine. If people don't have what they need to survive, we're not going to be able to change behavior. And so if we take the literal dollars that we use to put people in cages and use it to educate people and house people and give them medicine, the violence won't even happen in the first place that we see at the level. But then within those institutions, and if we create some more, we think our system needs to actually expand, we will have better responses, right? So the people who know you, who are in your neighborhood, should be able to figure out how we distribute resources and power to be able to engage crisis, but also not be in perpetual crisis as Black people. All of our cities, all of our school systems, y'all in Atlanta, I'm in Chicago, we ain't had no meeting, but I know what's going on down there, because everywhere in America, we're seeing, particularly where Black people are, this number of like 35, 40, sometimes 50, 60% of public resources are going strictly to police departments. And then there's this long-term abuse. So when we say defund, it is towards putting resources to what we need, and then that should give us the space to create actually new systems. So a lot of people get afraid and like, are we saying chaos? Or are we saying we're not having anybody to call? And we're not saying get rid of 911. Nobody's mad at the fire department. Nobody's mad at paramedics, right? There should be more options. And then we should just have a more equitable society. And also, when you use the language of defund, divest, you also get to talk about economics, right? And so we need to restructure our economy so that the trillions of dollars that just went to corporations and private equity, while people got to scrape for $1,200 refund checks, right? Like that is violence. And so when you start talking about municipal budgets and saying, hey, as a point of civic engagement and a point of democracy, we want control over how our communities are being funded and being resourced. And so you should not, in Chicago, I'm sorry, I'm rambling, I'll close with this notion. In Chicago, there's this website, it's called milliondolarblock.com, and it calculates how much the state spends on incarcerating residents of a neighborhood. And so in the same places where they close down the most schools, they're spending more than $1 million incarcerating residents.
Because that's where the Black
so just, if we literally transfer those dollars to wherever it's the roughest, right? Wherever it's the roughest in Atlanta, if we gave that space $1 billion, it would not be as rough. and like that's basically at a simple level what we're saying. And then we can figure out the nuts and bolts of it. But then to end with this, back to abolition, it's not even about dollars, right? Like there's actually a deeper human, spiritual morality, responsibility. You know, our ancestors are on the line here. Like we're talking about slavery, we're talking about genocide, we're talking about warfare. And just because it's got normalized, or because they usually have prisons out in rural counties or some white, small town somewhere, we don't think about it on a day-to-day basis. But this is happening in our lifetime, and it is our responsibility to transform it.
All right, brother. Well, we are talking with Damon Williams, an organizer from Chicago. And as we wrap it up, again, we appreciate you for coming. And just a final thing with your organization, and I love the title, Let Us Breathe Collective. Is that how we say that? I like that. I just want to know, in your opinion, just where are we going from here? What is the state of this movement?
Yeah, so again, this is so much bigger than the cops, right? Like they are the tip of the spear. So really, people think we're saying abolition is our final outcome. Abolition is our starting point. So where do we go from here? Is creating new human relationships and building healthy communities. So where we go from here, I feel redundant sometimes in saying it, but it's creating a world where we guarantee everyone has a place to sleep and everybody has access to food, medicine, mental health care, and education. And also where we go from here is we need to restructure the world kind of globally, not kind of, actually globally. So, I don't think the United States Constitution that is now 250 something years old is a sacred document, right? Like, I don't think the way we organize geopolitics is healthy, is in alignment with our environment. We need new ways to control our society on a global level. The same way police are occupying our communities, the United States military is doing to countries all over the world. And most of those places are Black and brown people. And so, that is based off this larger colonial, slave-based system of these nation states. And we need something else. That's like the big picture, like the long-term, what's going to happen beyond my lifetime. But like right now, what we're trying to do is just take care of our babies and our grandmas. Like that's the simple point of we just want healthy environment.
That's right.
And it's not rocket science, right? Like I'm sure y'all can shout out some like predominantly white wealthy suburb here in like Illinois. It's like Naperville or Schaumburg. It's not a police department that keeps those places safe. It's the fact that they have had unfair, disequitable access to resources, and a lot of those resources is based off the extraction of Black and brown labor and our political isolation. And so we need to create just an entire new system and doing it one step at a time, but doing it everywhere. So I encourage anybody with whatever your tactics are. I don't have the one solution, right? That's kind of the point is, hey, let's invest in schools and let our children figure out how our world is supposed to be. This needs to be like a democratic collective process. So I want to also encourage is like, when we say get rid of police, it also means we all got work to do. and we got to step
right.
up, and we got to take care of each other better. So getting prepared to check your people, right? Particularly Black men, I want to speak to us, like, you know, the way that we participate in patriarchy, the abuse, the diminishment of Black women, the way we participate in homophobia and transphobia, it is counter to our revolution, or to our liberation. Like it's not even about morality, even though it is moral, but the way Black men can occupy space in relationship to Black women, Black queer people, Black trans people, it actually supports white supremacy, and it disables our ability to organize, right? If Black women are being abused, if Black women are being disappeared, are being killed, are being not listened to, are being harassed, are being hollered at, are being belittled all the time, we can't sit in a room and make decisions together. And so, you know, there was similar to how white supremacy works, there was a way we have invested into patriarchy that is really counterproductive and contradictory to liberation. So I just want everybody, no matter where you are, to check yourself. Middle-class Black folks, you know what I'm saying? This show is targeted to educated folks. So, you know, you had access to those HBCUs or to those liberal arts schools, right? Like me, myself, went to, you know, been privately educated my entire life. The Black middle class has sold out a lot of people, right? And it has allowed a lot of co-optation. So everybody from their position, not only do we have to like point out this external destructive toxic force, but we have to know that we've internalized and reproduced some of that toxicity, and elitism, classism, colorism, but particularly patriarchy, sexism, homophobia is going to get in our way. So in order to create this world I'm talking about where everybody eats and everybody has what they need, we got to check ourselves and heal and address our contradictions and just be a little bit more anti-oppressive in all of the ways that we interact with each other, and know that we can contribute to the harm.
This has been Black Educated in Activism. Nothing else to say.
Yes, no, Damon, no, thank you for dropping so much knowledge, so much bars. If people want to follow you and keep in contact with what you got going on, how can they follow you?
Yeah. So you can follow me personally. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Damon, DAMON_AF. Also, you can follow our organization, Let Us Breathe 773, anywhere. And also Ergo Radio, which is my media platform, and at the basis of that is a weekly podcast. Our schedule got all messed up with pandemic and uprising, but it's a conversation with artists, activists. So we talk about some of these things. We might just talk about, you know, how people develop, you know, what's going on in our community. So Ergo Radio is really an educational source in addition to the space for conversation. So those are the three places to check me out. I'm Damon, Let Us Breathe, Ergo, and we will be plugged in.
Yes, all of that, like he said, guys, and we'll be sure to put all of this on our social media. So make sure you're following us at Black Educated and Broke. We'll have all this up. Guys, we're going to take another break here and get ready to get into Ron's rundown coming up. So make sure you keep listening. I know that was a lot of information. Don't worry, you can always go back and listen to us on what platform, Q, if they want to catch up?
And listen, I'm going to tell y'all every week because we need y'all to listen, all right? This is how we can continue to bring y'all this wonderful information, bring you awesome guests like Damon. We are on iHeartRadio app. We're on Apple Podcasts. If you have an iPhone or Apple product, it already came with it. You don't have to download it. We're also on SoundCloud. And on top of that, we are on, I'm forgetting one. Oh, Spotify.
There it is.
We're on Spotify. Yeah. So
and Google Podcasts. Throw that
because
in
you're listening to all of these, or if one of these you have.
Yes.
That's right.
You're one of the cool kids, you got an iPhone, so you got Apple Podcasts. That easy.
That easy, guys. So use any of those platforms to go back and hear the rest of the show. Like I said, we're going to take a quick break, jump into Ron's rundown. So just keep listening to Black Educated and Broke.
Yes, sir. It's your boy Ron, bringing you Ron's rundown. Nothing but that hip-hop fire and straight sports knowledge. Black Educated and Broke is now in the building. You should be too. Let's go.
All right, guys, we are back here on Black Educated and Broke with the kicks and giggles. And before we took a break, we know what time it is. We got our Ron's rundown. Ron, what's going on, boom?
What's up, y'all?
Hey.
So I didn't even know how I was going to start this, so I'm just going to be honest with y'all. I'm sick and tired. I'm sick and tired of 45. I'm sick and tired of the police. Good goddamn, I'm sick of the police. I'm sick and tired of all these Karens and Chads. I'm sick and tired of COVID and racism, and I'm especially sick and tired of messing with my sports, bro. I can't take this no more. They're getting on my nerves. So first and foremost, so you got Clemson that's got 28 cases of COVID-19 out of 315 tests that's been given so far. Texas has got 13. So needless to say, our college football season is in trouble. We done already lost.
Yes, it
we
is.
done already lost college basketball due to COVID. Then you got NBA players not basically saying that they may not play due to protests because they want to protest the unjust. You got football. We still don't know if we're going to have a football season. I'm telling you, man, all this is just completely driving me crazy. So, you know, I had to take a break from the news. I had to stop watching ESPN. I just had to relax, man. You know, shout out to NASCAR, man, because they really came together. But, of course, somebody had to go ahead and mess that up and throw a damn noose in Bubba Wallace's team garage. Really? Is that really necessary?
Well, did you read the latest? Hold on. Got to interrupt you there. Did you read the latest
ahead,
about
Randy,
that story?
put him on.
So the latest story.
They closed the case. They said it had been in there since like the fall or something.
Go ahead.
But it don't even
it's still a noose.
Period, man.
Is it still a noose?
It don't really sound right, but okay.
I never seen it. I can't say it wasn't.
I haven't seen it either yet.
I ain't see it.
Well, so what I want to do, man, is I want to put y'all up on something. This is something that I watch on a normal basis. YouTube. These are all black YouTubers that have probably 200,000 subscribers or more than that. So I just want to shout them out because when I need a break, man, I grab my phone, go sit somewhere and just watch a few skits. So shout out to Tiffany La'Ryn, Childish, The Creative, BLynn, Furious, King V, Bigg Jah, Troy in LA, Kenn Gdvin TV, Brewer actually is a YouTuber, and he just landed a Tyler Perry's new sitcom, a 30-minute show. It's called Bruh. That's going to be out this year on BET, so shout out to him and congratulations. J Horn Film, Minks, G-Wayne TV, Elhadj TV, Miss Kinigra Deon, Monnie Drea, Miss Sade, Tyree, and Shira. So I want to thank and congratulate all of them on their success, and thanks for keeping me entertained and all this craziness, because, man, sometimes you just need a break from all this nonsense, man, straight up. So
Yes, you do, child.
that's all I got for the rundown, man.
Shout out to Ron. Go ahead. What you better say, Maya?
I was gonna say, how many YouTube videos you watch a day? Because that was a list.
A lot.
You know,
That was a list.
Everybody does it's a different video on there every day. So you may not watch like everybody on the list, but it's always some type of content there.
Got you.
Hey, Ron, you know, I agree with you on the sports, but there is one highlight to all of this going on in football season. Probably not going to happen.
What highlight is that?
You going to ask me? Oh, there we go. And my motherfucking Chiefs will be the Super Bowl champs probably the next 2 years.
Oh, my gosh.
Go to break. Goodbye.
You brought that up, though, because your quarterback just joined LeBron James on his vote.
He did.
We love it.
So
I love
to
that.
him,
I love that, man.
Did.
I'm glad he know. I'm glad he know where he come from.
Yeah, he ain't the typical, biracial.
We wasn't sure.
Boy, we definitely was. This is a question. He's showing up though. I appreciate it.
Okay, well, Ron, as always, thank you for these headlines, what's going on there. And shout out to you highlighting all the black YouTubers. They give you comic relief. We're going to make sure. Yes.
One more. My homeboy, Ty the Guy. He actually from Georgia. He up and moved to LA. He been doing this thing ever since. He's got a podcast, 1422 podcast. So that's my little young boy, man. Shout out to you, bro. Congratulations. Keep it up.
Okay, I guess we do personal shout outs, and that's fine too. But nevertheless, guys, you can always get all this information on our social media at Black Educated at Black Educated and Broke, our Twitter, BEB Podcast _ATL, and Ron at Mr. FYPM. Guys, we're gonna take another break. When we get back into it, one of my favorite segments, Jackass of the Week. Q, you want to do a little snippet or something?
Contenders. I'm so excited. I missed last week. I'm so excited.
Man, listen. What did I deem them? If they not Karens, they what? I forgot what I called them.
Becky's.
We're gonna call their ass Clarks. Clarks.
What Ron called him? The Chaz? What you call him?
It's Chad.
Chad. With a D.
I don't know. My man Chad on Insecure, my boy. We kind of want him.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
no.
Go to break.
Well, I'm about to say, yeah, we'll find out more after the break, I guess. So keep listening to Black, Educated, and Broke.
Black Educated and Broke can be found on many platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and our iHeartRadio music app. So if you need somewhere to listen but don't want to download a bunch of apps, choose one of those. You're bound to have one of them on your phone, right? Right? That's what I thought. Black Educated and Broke, Season 3, coming right at you.
All right, guys, we are back here on Black, Educated, and Broke. And I know you heard like the jovialness in my voice because it's Jackass of the Week. And you know, Q always got the SHITS's. Okay, what's going on, Q?
Same old, same old. It's the same words on a different page. So apparently a video is going around about this Baltimore restaurant called the Uzo Bar. And a black family walks in and they're waiting to be seated and they are told they can't. Now where the video starts is where the manager comes and talks to the family. So it's a mother that we know of and a 9-year-old boy. You can't see how many other people are in the party, but the 9-year-old boy has on a Jordan t-shirt. He had on some gym shorts and some kicks, there's some tennis shoes. They told them they can't dine there because of their dress code policy. So she says, so you telling me that my son can't dine in here because of what he's wearing, but that little white boy right there can. And this white boy had on a t-shirt, some gym shorts, and some tennis shoes. They were essentially dressed alike, but one was black, one was white. So she continues to ask him and try to get him to say the reason why, but he refuses to flat out say, because they're black, I can't let you in. So she asks him, so you saying that little white boy can come in here and eat with his tennis shoes, t-shirt, but my 9-year-old son cannot? I'm sorry, ma'am, that's just a policy. You can't. And then the kicker, I probably would have been calm and tried to dig deeper, but this fool had the nerve to ask her, do you guys live close? Can you just go home and change? Nigga,
what?
Yes, he did, y'all. Oh my man, let me tell you.
I'd have lost it right there. Like, man, like I probably would have been political at first. Just like most people would be like, oh no, I'm not spending my money here. Man, fuck that. I'm gonna come here and eat because I know you don't want me to. So you mad. But that part would have put me over the edge. What do you mean, do I live close enough? Can I go change? I'm asking you specifically, how come my son cannot come in here and eat, but this little white boy can sit right there and eat with his family? What's the answer? Tell me straight up. Like, people can say, if you can say with all your heart that racism doesn't exist, I'd show you this video.
Yeah.
Oh, that's one instant. That's not one instant. This is what we've been telling you for years. We're saying the same thing over and over. It's happening in so many different ways. Cool, if this way don't work for you, here's another way. Oh, that one don't work for you, here's another way. It's the same thing. People just really refuse to acknowledge that it exists and improve it. And it's annoying.
So what now, where was this located?
This was in Baltimore, one of the
yeah.
blackest cities in the US. Yeah. So the manager, the company fired the managers.
Okay.
And they put out a statement, but somebody had to tell them to do it. So who told them to do it? Is this company policy or is owner policy for that location? Because why is that white boy that white kid okay to sit there and eat his food, but
yeah, he didn't look clean.
Well, I mean, but who's to say that that's their policy? We don't know if that was just that particular worker. He's like, man, I'm just gonna reject them. Whatever. No,
yeah,
we don't know if that's
from his job.
Well, that's what he get. Because I know sometimes it wasn't our policy to give extra scoops of ice cream at Brahms. But if the guy was cute or whatever, I might give him a little extra. So. Yeah. It depends on how,
That's sexist, by the way.
You're going to.
I gave women some. If the old ladies was real nice. I only gave a freaking scoop of ice cream. They didn't get no cookies.
Calm down. So
Anyway,
the last update I saw with this story earlier this week, they tried to reach out to the family. I don't think the families even care. They haven't responded according to the Griot, thegriot.com. The family has not responded. They don't care. That is just and it's like, okay, it makes you feel like is people getting fired? Is that enough? Is that all we want? People to lose a job?
No, boy.
How do we solve it? How do you really solve it?
Them
It's okay.
You all right?
Use your words.
My words were about to be very explicit. That's why I had to come back and think about it, because I was like, Randy said it's a PG show now. But them little statements they be releasing, them little company statements, that's not conducive. I'm sorry. It just sounds like somebody bitched you into making you release a statement that you don't really believe in.
That's good PR. You know what I'm just saying? Being the other way, Randi O
But you don't believe in it. But it's a statement that you don't believe in, because at the end of the day, it wouldn't have happened to begin with if you was actually for the other races.
But see, this is where I have a disagreement with, because I feel like I know that this person reflects the whole company, but we got people that work for a company that ideals are not everybody. So sometimes I think it's kind of unfortunate to say that, oh, you put out a statement and you don't mean. No, we didn't know this freaking coworker, this employee was like, we did not know he was like that. Sometimes I think you really don't know, and I feel like they have to eat it, and it'd be kind of unfair, because we put a blanket like it's the company, and sometimes it's really individualized. Like I said, I feel like I work for, y'all know the company that I work for, but I feel like I still have my own personal individual values and that are not always aligned with the company. You know what I'm saying? So, but that doesn't.
I don't think you would ever align with them. You're not not saying anything against you, but
right, yeah, nah.
People live in a fairy tale. It's like a bubble, and that they've been a story that's been passed down generationally. Like, this is our world. This is how it's supposed to be. And you don't think for yourself. And I think that's my biggest problem with people. I think my patience get really short when I have to spell it out for you constantly. Yeah. If I tell you and you look it up or whatever, like, take it up on yourself to digest it and then think critically. Like, don't run with it because my great-great-grandpa, who would have been a slave owner, or at least in a civil war, said it was so.
Yeah.
In your eyes, man.
Okay. Well, yeah, I definitely agree. That's a jackass of the week. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, so anybody that's kicking people out because of the color of their skin, you are a jackass, and thank you for sharing. All right, guys, so we're going to jump into the next segment here, take a quick little break, because, Randi O be in the city. We got a couple of protests coming up, so if you want to know when, where, why, how, you got to keep listening right here on Black, Educated, and Broke.
Black Educated and Broke is a weekly entertainment podcast where we mix hip-hop headlines and all things ATL into the success of Black millennials and Black culture.
I'm just laughing here because I feel like I'm such a bossy pants, because producer Zayna, Zay from the Bay, she must do the countdown, and I'd be like, 3, goes in, and she's always so smiley and happy. And I just want to say thank you for accepting my takeover spirit and, not getting annoyed with me when I get in the way, Zayna.
Zay from the Bay is a good one because anyway.
Man, we only had one other producer.
Who was the other producer?
Your ass. We definitely appreciate you. Thank you.
All day.
Right, boy.
Yes, we love our Zay from the Bay. So, guys, the next segment up here, of course, we be in the city. Because I be.
Yo, Randy, where you at this weekend? You got mask on, off?
So this weekend, so there's different things, right? So, by the way, I did finally get a cute mask. And I think when you have a cute mask, I think it does make you want to wear it more, now that I know. I'm waiting on my AKA mask to come. But anyway, I have been wearing my mask more because I actually like it. But
you fine.
Right, but this weekend, actually, what Randy's doing, so I'm doing this audition thing or whatever, because I'm trying to get this little side job. So maybe I'll tell you about it later, to be continued. It's a late night gig. So I sure will be in the city. That's all I'm going to say to you, Ron, and I'm ignoring that. For anybody else who wants to be a part of a positive change this weekend on June the 27th, there's going to be another protest. It's going to be called Justice for Georgia Families March. You can find a lot of information with the hashtag Justice for Georgia, but it's going to be this Saturday, June the 27th at 1:00 p.m. That is Eastern Standard Time, and it's going to be in front of the C.T. Martin Recreation Center. The actual address for that is 3201 MLK Drive, Southwest Atlanta. And Adamsville, thank you, and that's 30311. So, yeah, guys, this is just kind of tipping the point locally in the state, nationally. They're trying to uplift in the families and, you know, I've been a part of the protest. We talked about it on the show. It's very peaceful, and let's just kind of keep that same energy. So, guys, I'm gonna make sure I put this on our social media page so that you all can follow. And that's really all that I have for in the city. Did somebody have some other updates that maybe I ain't know about? Okay,
I don't go out. But yeah, that's the
we
Atlanta
know,
champion,
man.
NAACP. I got everything I need at the house, and I'm working.
Yes, get your coins, Mike. So I want to go ahead and just, if that's the case, guys, if we come up with any other events, as you know, we'll put them on our social media page as well as on our website. And don't forget, as regards to our website, you know, our boo Maya, she be having the Mayan Empire blog on Black Educated and Broke. So if you want to catch up and see what's on the little baby's thoughts, go check out our website, okay? But with that, I want to say this was a great show. A special thanks, big, huge thanks to Damon Williams, the Chicago activist who was on our show. He dropped a lot of knowledge. I think I can say that Q seemed to be very much impressed with the interview and what the guy had to say. And Damon, like, I love what you're doing, man. Like, you making a positive difference, and I respect it. For next show, you know, next show might be a little different. As we know, it's going to be our 4th of July weekend show. And, you know, we're more so about June the 19th. But for the July the 4th, that's Independence. But even more so, it's Independence Day. But there's another celebration on that day. Y'all know what the other celebration is?
We blacking out.
And it's Ron's birthday.
Hey. He is officially.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
So you know what we gotta do, y'all.
He excited for the AARP card to come in.
That boy, shout out to our Generation X family.
He just called you old.
Hey, whatever.
No, listen. This is what we got to do, y'all. Since it's going to be Ron's first birthday on the show, we got to do a Ron-inspired show, like a Ron-themed show.
It's got to be historical.
I got one question. Can the 10 spot, can Q's 10 spot come back just
hell no.
Ron? I think we just need a top 10 rundown of Ron's Twitter account. I have requested it.
Hell no.
I think we
I
need
really
it.
gotta put some thought into that shit.
Q, you got it, but just put the huggy lowdown spirit on it. Just write it out.
Honestly, though, half of the stuff that Ron be going viral for is because of Q. Because Q be making some wild remarks.
Hey, I probably could go through and shit and find some questionable things.
I would love that. So you hear that?
And
you know what he retweeted?
Not questionable like that, but you know, something to talk about.
Okay.
Yes.
Retweet booty 10 times a day.
Hey, I appreciate art.
No integrity.
I appreciate art, baby.
Okay, so clearly that's an idea what next show is going to be. It's going to be a little turned up. We may have a good time. So y'all don't want to miss it. So guys, we out. Remember, you can listen to all of our podcasts. Subscribe to us on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Those are our major platforms. And other than that, we out. It's been your girl, Randi O.
Mike B.
It's Maya.
Your boy Ron, still sick of these Chad and Karens.
I'm just gonna cue this takeover. And we see y'all later.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Hey, this is Damon Williams, and I just want to offer much love to all the people, particularly Black people in this world, particularly in this country here, United States of America. We are here, we're together, our experiences is one, we are connected, and we're going to create a better world tomorrow. So just stay here. I love you like you and me. Much love.